Hello. All right. Thank you all so much for coming to this event. I'm going to be only a minute or so. Don't want to take away from the main show. But brief introduction. My name's Joey Levy. I'm the founder of SimpleBet, which is the technology company that's pioneering micro betting on U.S. sports and for the U.S. sports betting industry. I'm also a recently very happy new permanent resident of the city of Miami, no intention of leaving anytime soon. And to quickly address why we're all here tonight. So I was actually born and raised in South Florida. I've always loved it down here. About 4 years ago, I got a small spot on the side here in Miami, and I found myself coming here almost every month or so. And I would always tell my friends that Miami ought to become a tech hub. And, obviously, for all the obvious reasons that everybody's sort of discovering today, but, coronavirus was that black swan event that has enabled Miami to become a tech hub. And what's particularly exciting about Miami becoming a tech hub is I feel like there's this broader transitioning happening in this country, which I think is very positive for the country, which is Silicon Valley is becoming decentralized. Technology entrepreneurship is becoming something that really anybody in the US and globally can do, which is why we're so excited about happening. And so just brief context for why we're all here. So Zaid and I are co-founders of a group called the 305. When we noticed all of these technology entrepreneurs and investors relocating to Miami, we wanted to set up a small community to connect them with one another, to connect them with a lot of the engineers and other talent that was here in Miami. Our community is now at over 1,000 people. And what we're particularly excited to announce is we've set up 305 Ventures, which is a venture fund investing in Miami-focused technology companies. We've already made 10 investments, and we'll be deploying we will be deploying millions of dollars of capital into the Miami venture ecosystem this year. So we're very happy to have you all here. We're excited to have Mayor Suarez here to talk about some of the pressing issues as we work to build the tech ecosystem here. So with that, I'll introduce my partner on 305, Zaid Rahman, Claudia, the Managing Director of Endeavor, and Mayor Francis Suarez. Thanks so much for coming.
Great, perfect. So thank you all for joining us tonight. This is such great energy, and I love the diverse group. I met Zaid about 3 weeks ago, I think, and I told him, I have an idea. Let's just join forces and let's connect our local ecosystem with all the newcomers, and let's just bring them together. And here we are 3 weeks after. So thank you all for joining us and believing in us and everything that we do. So before my co-moderator kicks off this panel, we want to obviously introduce our very special guest, Mayor Francis Suarez. You're all familiar with him, and he has been a key supporter of our entrepreneurial ecosystem for a long time now, and he's the driving force behind Miami's recent momentum, all thanks to an important tweet, "How can I help?" So welcome, Mayor Suarez, and it's a pleasure to have you here with us tonight.
Thank you so much. You guys hear me back there? Awesome. Great. Thank you for having me.
All right. Can you guys hear me with this mic? Awesome. Well, before we get started, just a few questions for the crowd. How many of you are founder CEOs? Raise your hands. All right. That's roughly 40%. How many of you guys are investors, VCs, angels, etc.? All right, pretty good group. And how many of you all have moved to Miami in the last 6 months?
Wow, amazing. How many of you follow me on Twitter? How many of you do I follow on Twitter? I follow, not enough. I got to follow more of you guys. All right. That's a lesson.
And how many of you have been building the entrepreneurial ecosystem for a while here in Miami? Raise your hands. Thank you.
A good mix of the old and the new. Well, very exciting.
That is nice.
Let's start at the beginning. A lot of us are familiar with your Miami tech vision.
Yeah.
But a lot of people here are new to the ecosystem, so they perhaps may not know Mayor Francis Suarez, the man.
Okay.
You are a Miami native,
Yes.
born and raised here, which is a big deal. Sounds like you're like the first mayor in like 50 years to be a Miami native.
I'm the first mayor ever to be a Miami.
Oh, wow.
125 years.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Your father, Xavier Suarez, was also the mayor of Miami, which is very interesting. For those of us who are not as familiar with your story, tell us more.
Well, I am the eldest of four. I have three incredibly brilliant sisters, so I'm the only boy. My dad and mother came to this country at 12 and 6 from Cuba, fleeing the communist Castro dictatorship. And we came to eventually converge in this incredible city, which is a beacon of liberty and democracy that we know as the city of Miami. And my father, as you mentioned, was elected mayor in 1985. He was the first Cuban mayor in the history of the city. I was elected in 2017, and I was the first Miami-born mayor. And we're the first father and son mayor. It is unusual for someone to be somewhat born in this city and still live here, because about 30% of Miamians are born in Miami. As you can see from the crowd here today, that number sort of bears itself out, that a large percentage of the people that are here today were not born here, came here recently. And I think that's one of our strengths, frankly. I think one of the beautiful things about Miami is the fact that you don't have to live here to feel welcome here. And I think it's going to be a strength in this new era that we're entering into, what I call this generational tectonic shift, where I think Miami is going to emerge as one of the great global cities, not just in tech, but in tech and finance. There'll be a convergence in Miami that we've never seen anywhere in the history of humanity.
Awesome. What's really interesting to me is, in researching for this event, the most remarkable statistic was, in your time as mayor, you won the 2017 mayoral election in a landslide 86% of the vote.
Yes, I'm trying to beat that this year.
Wow. And what do you think about, what's it about your political philosophy which seems to resonate with so many people? I mean, now you have a national presence,
Sure,
growing in the last 6 months, and the momentum is very strong. What is it about your political philosophy that resonates?
And I think some of the developers in the room will appreciate this. I take sort of an engineer's approach. I have a finance background. My dad studied mechanical engineering. My grandfather was an engineer. He was an academician. So I take an engineer's approach. I think a lot of public officials, and particularly nonpartisan mayoral candidates, need to take a much more of a practical approach. And what Steve Benjamin today, who was the mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, my predecessor as president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, talked about a radical pragmatism, right? And the idea is solving problems. We're here to solve problems. As elected officials, our primary goal should be to solve problems. And I think when you start looking at the world through that prism of problem solution as opposed to party or personality or anything of that nature, I think it inevitably leads to a body of work that allows you to position yourself in a way that people like. And I think we oftentimes in politics, too often, focus on the things that divide us rather than the things that unite us. We spend so much time talking about the things that divide us. We spend so much time arguing about the things that divide us, when that's really only a tiny fraction of all the issues, frankly. And so I think if we could change our conversation in politics, I think there'd be many more elected officials that would get elected by high percentages. Thank you. I brought Sean Wolfington to clap vigorously and whistle throughout, so just please excuse him.
Well, fast forward to this time last year. Turns out you are one of the first public personalities to have caught COVID.
It's true.
Which is kind of insane. I'm sure it was a time of deep reflection, as it was for many of us. In my case, I decided to literally pack my bags in San Francisco and move to Miami.
Smart move.
A lot of people here have done the same. What do you think, why this moment? Why are so many people moving to Miami? What's the pitch?
What is the pitch for people moving to Miami? Let's see, where do we start? So for me, I try to keep it simple. And I think for me as a public official in Miami, and what differentiates us from other cities is we want to do three things. We want to do them well. The first thing we want to do, and this sounds shocking, is we want to tax people the least amount possible. Okay? And the reason why is because we believe that money is better spent and better utilized in your hands than in the hands of government. So as mayor, I reduced taxes to the second lowest level, the millage rate, which is the only tax that we charge. We don't charge an income tax, state income tax. We don't charge a local income tax. All we charge is a property tax. We reduced the rate to the lowest level. And you know what happened when we did that? We started growing. Instead of shrinking, instead of having huge budget deficits like other cities have and are trying to tax their way out of these huge budget deficits, we actually reduced taxes and we grew tremendously. So it's a shocking revelation. The second thing that we did was we invested in our public safety. We wanted to be the safest big city in America. And so while a lot of cities defunded their police, we invested in our police. We have more police officers than we've ever had in our history. And we reduced crime last year by 25%. The year before that, we had the lowest homicide rate since 1954. And that's not adjusted for population growth. And then the third thing that we do is we focus on and invest in quality of life. I'm not sure if anybody's developed this technology yet, but I'm not sure that anybody's been able to live yesterday again. I don't think that's been figured out yet. I don't think Elon's figured it out quite yet, although he's working on it, I'm sure. So what that means is that the decision of where you are today, where you are tomorrow, is really the most important decision that you make. So as a city builder, what does that mean? That means that getting Formula One here is a big deal, right? That means that having a city where you have incredible art offerings, where you have one of the best, if not the best, art show in the world in Art Basel, where having museums is important, where having linear parks and public spaces becomes vital and critical to the success of your city. Because again, and by the way, also to having little to no homelessness in our city. Okay, we have in the city of Miami right now 555 homeless. 555. Compare that to some of the cities that you guys have left. Okay, we have 0 veteran homeless. 0, as defined by the federal government. And hopefully soon I'll be announcing what I call our functional zero plan, where we can get Miami to being at functional zero for homelessness. Because I think every city, every great city is defined by how well you take care of the least of your brothers and sisters. And so I think we're gonna create a model that hopefully we can scale. I'm talking like a VC now, right? Or like an entrepreneur. We're gonna create a model that we can scale.
You're ready to be a GP at Sequoia.
Yeah. We're creating a model we can scale, and I want, if I'm reelected in November, if I'm blessed to be reelected in November, and if I become, which I should, the president of U.S. Conference of Mayors in January, one of my agenda issues is going to be trying to end urban homelessness in America, because I think it's something that we can do if we come together as a community and as a country, and it's something that frankly would speak volumes of why capitalism works in the world.
This crowd loves you.
Well, I know most of them.
Mayor Suarez, Miami has always been a city of immigrants, a melting pot.
That's right.
A city that welcomes newcomers. It's a very united community, and it offers a chance to thrive, which is very special. So do you think there's a similarity between the new migration, where we're currently living the new wave, to others the city has experienced in the past? And what makes this specific moment so unique and so important to you in your vision of the city?
It's unique because it's coming from a particular set of sectors, right? Oftentimes, immigration came from political forces, like in the case of the Mariel in the 1980s, when many Cubans came, all the Venezuelans that have come, because of the things that are happening in Venezuela. And we are a city of refugees. We're a city of immigrants, and that's, again, what makes us strong. The immigration issue, unfortunately, is one of those issues that I feel doesn't get talked about enough in a nonpartisan way. And if you think about how hard it is sometimes for some of you to find employees, in your companies, and I hear this constantly from all kinds of companies at all levels, we really need to fix our immigration system because we need to power our economy and our country with the kinds of people that are in this location right now. And we all, by almost by definition, are immigrants in this country. I mean, almost no one or everyone can trace back to when their parents or grandparents or great grandparents got to this country. And this is a country of immigrants. It's not just a city of immigrants, it's a country of immigrants. And so I don't understand a lot of these debates sometimes in Washington. I've done a lot of national interviews in the last year, and the only bad one I ever did was an interview where the moderator expected me to know something that was going on in Washington, D.C., and I had no idea, to be honest with you, because I'm not necessarily always paying attention to what's happening in Washington, D.C. I know it's a shocker for all of you guys, but oftentimes what's happening up there is just a whole separate reality and a different reality from what is happening here on the ground. And so but I think this particular migration is a migration of thought leaders. It's a migration of innovators. It's a migration of creators. And in many ways, it's the reverse of what happened in Cuba when the communist dictatorship took over and pushed all those people out of the country. And what you saw was a decay in the country, because to me, communism is a fundamentally flawed ideology that's based on a lie. And the lie is that if we just take everybody's property and we take everybody's business and we, the government, take it, then we'll just be able to distribute it equally. And the only kind of equality that's created in the history of humanity is equal misery for everyone. So it succeeded and created equality. It just created equal misery. And I think in Miami, we have a different formula. We have a different mindset. And the mindset is we want to give every child in this city an opportunity to thrive, survive, and excel. And if we can, to the extent possible, create an equality of opportunity in this city, we're going to create the kind of city that's never been created anywhere on the planet. And that's our goal.
Very united community. Yeah, great. So as Zaid mentioned before, you are now referring to Miami as the capital of capital.
Yeah.
For the longest time, founders had difficulty in South Florida to raise capital, right? They had to look outside of the state. As Endeavor, we also were trying to help them because there was not a good investor network local. So in fact, when you ask founders their number one challenge, it was always raising capital. So what is your vision of the capital, and how does that tie to your larger vision for the future of Miami?
So my vision and why I came up with the term capital is because I saw some macro things that were happening that happened for a variety of other macro reasons, and they were unique to Miami. When you see an entire industry of finance merging and an entire industry of tech coming to a city, you're creating a melting pot that's never happened before. You've never had private equity, hedge funds, investment banks in the same place with venture capitalists, founders, developers. It's just never happened. They've always been two polar opposites of the country. It's like two sides of a brain. And when you now bring them together and merge them, you have something unique. You have something special. And if you think about your businesses and starting your business, it all, of course, it starts with an idea, and of course, it starts with effort, right, and friends and family. But at some point, you really need capital. And what this moment taught me was we were all here, Felicia, you, all of us were here trying to build this ecosystem, and we were building it like the Cubans would say, a duro y sin guante. And what that means is we're building it one step at a time with no VC money. We were doing it just through hard work, through effort, through so many different organizations, 500 Startups, Endeavor, Lab Miami, Venture Hive. There's so many different to try to build this thing. But we needed that moment, that moment to really catalyze what we were trying to build. And I think we have that moment. We've discovered that moment. So now the key is three things, right? The first is continuing the moment, right? That's why I do so many Cafecito Tech Talks. I want to raise the volume, keep the volume level up. The second thing we want to do is we want to make sure that promise of a better tomorrow and that promise of a new economy can be felt by all, right? I think that's what would make us different from a lot of other cities that haven't been able to deliver on that promise. And I think the third thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that it's sustained. And I think now, as the summer comes on, we want to make sure that we do everything that we can to educate and to create an educational platform, which is the one thing that I think is the last thing that people are holding on to, right? Before it was we didn't have capital, now we have capital. Before we didn't have the jobs, now we're getting the jobs. So the last thing that I keep hearing is education and talent, right? And sort of the byproduct of both. And I think I don't think the talent is as big an issue because as you can see from here today, there's a ton of talent here. There's a ton of talent that has come here and that will continue to come here. I think the issue is continuing to create a talent excellence and keeping it here in Miami, which I think we're going to do easier and easier as the years go by.
Knight Foundation has done, they've been great.
Matt was back there too. Matt, where are you, buddy?
Actually, Matt.
Thank you. I got to give Matt a shout out.
Matt is the reason probably we're all here. So a big clap to Matt Hagman. Through the Knight Foundation, he brought Endeavor to Miami and supported so
That's
many
right.
organizations. So thank you, Matt. And so you've been very bullish on the Miami entrepreneurial ecosystem for a long time, and Endeavor Miami has been very lucky to have your support. So thank you since the beginning. Last year, with your help, we were able to launch an accelerator supporting female entrepreneurs, and that was awesome. I loved it. And some of you are here, so I'm so happy to see you. And we'll do another one this year to support minorities. And again, that is our mission, to really help entrepreneurs scale their businesses. So why do you think it is so important to support minority and female entrepreneurs in your city?
First of all, because I don't think they get a fair shake. I think the numbers show that minority and women entrepreneurs are not getting a fair percentage of the VC capital that's out there. And so I think I'm a Libra, so I don't see how you can account for those kinds of differentials, right? When women VCs are getting 3% of capital, that means 97% is going to men. That doesn't make sense. Even in law schools, it's not. In law schools, now there's more women than men in law school. So that just doesn't sit with me right. And I think, and the minority community, I think it's important that we're like a minority-majority community anyways. But I think for me, it's more about creating a system where every child can succeed. And to me, for that to happen, and I want to thank Ken Griffin and the Miami Foundation, and I want to thank Access Miami for coming together with the Miami Connect program, which gives every child on free and reduced lunch, 100,000 children in Miami-Dade County, free broadband access for 2 years. And now what we have to do is clap for that, because that's amazing. It's a $12 million commitment. So digital tools and curriculum. We have to make sure that every child in our city has the ability to use the digital tools that is needed to compete in the modern day economy. And we're going to do it. We're going to get there. And I'm confident, because I will tell you this counter narrative to what the reputation of the tech community has been given. I found them to be extremely generous, extremely desirous of being part of the solution. And what I also love is the sort of the new concept of, social impact companies for profit. In other words, hacking through capitalism, hacking social problems. And I think, unfortunately, the model before has been, in my opinion, flawed, which is either government does it or the private sector does it. There's not enough collaboration between the two. We're doing tremendous amounts of things in collaboration on affordable housing. We're getting 20-to-1 leverage rates on affordable housing projects. Are they perfect? No. Would I like them to be cheaper sometimes? Yes. But it's a give and take, right? We're a portion of the capital stack of a project. So the more we subsidize, the less we have to put into another project. Maybe we can get their income levels down a little bit more, but then we have less units. So there's always a give and take. And I think the exciting part is we're doing a lot more right than I think we give ourselves credit for, than maybe other people give us credit for.
Thank you.
We are certainly believers in the Miami vision. We are here. But what do you think of the criticism that sometimes this narrative gets on Twitter? I'll read some for example?
Really? We're going to spend time reading Twitter criticisms? We're going to be here for a while.
Well, let's get started. Quote unquote, there is no Stanford of Miami. There's a lack of engineering talent. Number
There
two.
is no Stanford of Miami.
Yeah,
Not yet.
not yet.
But I'm talking to Stanford, if that makes you feel better.
Yes, absolutely. Has anyone who's moved to Miami ever lived here in the summer?
It's April 19th. Yeah, I guess it's not. We're not there yet.
This tech migration.
By the way, there's this amazing thing called air conditioning.
Yes.
It's awesome. And I just came from Qatar, and they actually have outdoor air conditioning as well. And so that's something that I'm exploring as a solution for restaurants and stuff like that. Outdoor air conditioning technology.
Love it. And finally,
It's 120 degrees over there, by the way.
yeah, I'm from Dubai, so like I
There you go.
totally resonate. And by the way, I don't believe in these. I'm just giving you the
Gotcha.
opportunity. This sort of tech migration is temporary and will fade away. So basically, my question is, as Miami's head of sales, what do you say to the critics? You know, what is the sort of definitive answer to all of these naysayers?
You know, I think in life, and anybody who's a founder who's built a company understands that if you got up in the morning and you thought about all the reasons why you were going to fail, you'd never get out of bed. And I think I think people have to criticize it. What do you think these cities are going to do? They're just going to say, "Okay, Miami, you win. Everybody go." No, that's not what they're going to do. They're going to try to count what I call a counter brand, right? Miami's going to be underwater in 10 years. You know, Miami doesn't have enough educational talent. You can't take your kids to school. I mean, there's a lot of counter brands. I expect it. I think some of it is good constructive criticism. Like, there isn't a Stanford here. That's a legitimate constructive criticism. And I think there's a way to get there. First of all, I'm very proud of the Knight Foundation making the gift that they made to FIU, University of Miami, just recently. Out today, we're announcing, actually, it hasn't been announced. Rob, I can't say it. We're going to be making another announcement on a Cafecito Tech Talk that another educational investment that will be coming out next week. The $10 million investment in one of our educational institutions. So I'm very proud of what we're doing, but I've also warned them. I have sat with the university presidents and I have told them myself, I will bring down Stanford, MIT, Chicago, Champaign. I'll bring them all down here. If you guys, aren't at that level, I will bring them down there. Now, I do think that part of it is, and what's been amazing about this moment is that it gives us an opportunity to tell our story. And we haven't been that good at it because we're busy. We're busy doing life. So we don't focus so much on telling our story. And I think part of the reason I do the Cafecito Tech Talks is I love telling stories, and I love being a portal for storytelling and being able to allow people to talk about it. And that's what really changes reputations if you think about it. Changing a reputation of a city, it's like turning a cruise ship. I don't know if you guys have ever seen at the end of the port when they actually turn the cruise ship. It's actually really cool. It takes a long time because they don't want to mess up. And we've done that. We've changed the reputation of this city in 4 months. The hottest city in the world right now is the one that you're in. And I don't mean in degrees of temperature. It's the hottest city in the world. It's got the most attention. How many people in this room honestly believed on December 3rd that they would be here talking about Miami Tech? I mean, think about that. Think about it. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you would have told me on December 3rd that this is the way the next 6 months of your life is going to be. You're going to talk to Elon Musk. You're going to meet Delion, who you didn't know before. Where are you, buddy? Raise your hand. I know you're around here somewhere. Did he leave?
Where are you?
Oh, God, he left. Good time to call him out. That I was going to meet Keith Rabois, Peter Thiel, that I was going to talk to, Lucy Jew, and all these people that I was going to meet, the Winklevoss twins, Brian Armstrong, Fred Arsham, I mean, all of them. I didn't know who any of these people were. It's amazing. Patrick from Stripe. I mean, I've talked to everybody, Jack Dorsey. There's no one I haven't talked to. If you would have told me that on December 3rd, I would have told you were crazy. You couldn't write that. You couldn't make a movie like that. And that is what has happened here, which is really, truly, in my opinion, somewhat miraculous. But we have been creating the conditions for this moment, and we needed lightning to strike this spot, and it did. And we're going to take advantage of it. or I'm going to die. One thing or the other.
That was the hardest one.
So COVID drastically changed things for entrepreneurs across the world. But perhaps the two most crucial changes have been access to capital and access to talent, and it's separation from geography. One no longer needs to live in San Francisco, New York City, or Dubai to, be able to succeed with your business. And the tech ecosystem in South Florida is really growing really fast. And not only tech, there's a lot of entrepreneurs in different verticals. There's a lot of innovation going on right now. So how can Miami really capitalize on this, since a lot of the talent here is more technical? I know we spoke about the education, and that's coming, more talent, but how can Miami really, really capitalize this?
We're studying the issue on particular verticals that we want to differentiate ourselves with. Obviously, you guys have seen me go all in on crypto and blockchain, something that I was involved in before the tweet. I think biotech is another vertical where we can do significantly well.
Healthcare,
right, because we have a huge healthcare system here. And there's a variety of other verticals, GovTech, that we can do very well with. So I think that's one part, is sort of finding a way to differentiate yourself. I think we all have to recognize, and you all know this because of what you do every day, we're in a hyper-competitive, hyper-disruptive world. And as leaders, we have an obligation, not only to our generation, but to our children and to our unborn grandchildren, which is to position ourselves to succeed and compete in that world. And I think any mayor in the world, forget about America, in the world, that is not trying to grow their tech ecosystem is doing a disservice to all of its citizens. Because we're not going to all of a sudden start going back and using landlines. That's not going to happen, right? The genie's out of the bottle. Technology is going to become a greater and greater and greater part of our life. That's just a reality. And it's not a Republican or a Democrat thing. That's just a survival thing. And we can either embrace it or you can deny it. And we're going to embrace it.
Thank you.
All right. Last question before we ask a couple questions from the audience.
Cool.
What's your roadmap for the next few years for Miami in terms of infrastructure, education, et cetera, et cetera?
My roadmap is we're going to grow. That's inevitable. We have to have the ability to grow in terms of infrastructure. That's why I went to Las Vegas to see the boring tunnel. We want to be able to have the kind of mass transit that allows us to get around easily. We also want to make sure that our curriculum and our entire program of growth promises and delivers on the promise of allowing every child to be successful. That, to me, is what I call our Miami for Everyone program. We have a Miami Forever program, which is also our resiliency program. We want to make sure that Miami is, in fact, here for the next 50, 100, 150 years. So those are three things that we want to focus on. And then I think we have to be realistic and fair about what our deficiencies are. You name some of them, and the Twitter world is always very good at pointing them out. And we need to attack them head on, because they are things that are going to make us more competitive and stronger. Having a good education system is the most fundamental gift that you can give, the most equalizing gift that you can give to any human being. And so for me, we have to look at it all the way from the state down to the city level. We as a city don't necessarily or involve ourselves so much in education per se, because we don't control the school system. But I funded a savings account program for kindergartners. So every kindergartner in Miami gets a savings account that we pay for, so that children can learn fiscal discipline, because all the outcomes show that children who learn fiscal discipline do better in life. So there are strategic partnerships like the one we have with Endeavor, like the one we have with 500 Startups, that help us grow in the way that we want to grow. And I think that's what we're going to continue to invest in, at least while I'm mayor, hopefully for the next 5 years.
All right. Who in the audience would like to ask our dear mayor some questions? Bo.
Felicia.
Mayor, Here, I'm Bo Meganson with Gulf Coast Angel Investors and one of the few gray hairs, I guess, in this
Gotcha.
audience. And
I'm starting to get some gray hairs myself.
As long as it's there, it doesn't care. Don't care what color it is.
That's right.
As long as it's there. I'm not from Miami either. We opened our office here 2 years ago and had the benefit of seeing what happened in Atlanta when Atlanta scaled in late 1990s to 2000. What happened in Austin, Texas, and what happened in Nashville around healthcare IT. We are on the same formulaic path to see an explosion, just like those three cities did. And to your point, to reinforce that, and I'm old enough to have seen this, you're right. We're not going to be a city like Chicago or Dallas or Houston. We're going to be like Dubai and
That's
London
right.
and Rome and Singapore and Tokyo. That's where this city's going. And so Atlanta has had some good things and bad things that we can learn from. Have you reached out to the city of Atlanta to kind of see what they would do differently to go back, say, 20 years when AOL bought Time Warner and put $20 bills in Peachtree Street? If you can see what they did differently, how we can not only maximize the benefit, but limit the downside of what also comes with that.
Claudia?
Sorry. I haven't reached out specifically to Atlanta. The mayor of Atlanta is a dear friend, Keisha Lance Bottoms. We got elected at the same time, and we're close friends. We haven't been here that long, right? We've only been here for 3 years, so we don't know what happened necessarily 20 years ago. But I think there are lessons to be learned, without a doubt, from all the different cities, and I think that's part of what we're trying to do. That's why our Venture Miami team, which is sort of what I call the back office, has focused so much on equity, on the equity issue, because I think it would be somewhat of a failure if we couldn't find a way to ensure that the wealth that we're building benefits everyone. Right now, that's an easy problem, hard solution, right? Because if it was an easy solution, everybody would do it. So what I think we're doing is, first of all, I agree with the premise that we are going to be like those cities. I don't think anybody in the world, I don't think anybody in Spain or in Dubai or Qatar or in anywhere is thinking, man, I can't wait to get on that flight to Austin. It's not happening. South America, they're not doing it. It's not happening. They're not saying, man, I can't wait to go to Nashville. It's not happening. So they're beautiful cities. I mean, well, maybe they're not the beautiful cities, but they're nice cities. And particularly Nashville I like because my sister went to Vanderbilt, so and I have good experiences there. But I do think that there are lessons to be learned from these cities, and I think that we are carefully looking at that. And I do talk to the mayors. Oftentimes they're yelling at me not to steal their entrepreneurs, and I tell them that I love them because I do love them, but I'm going to continue to steal their entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Felicia?
Yeah. Thank you for the conversation tonight. Diversity has been talked about forever, but specifically in the last 4 months around this tech wave. But diversity is very layered here in Miami. And so can you talk about your plan specifically as it relates to Black founders and then the Black community?
Well, my plan is to focus on connecting Black founders in the Black community to a lot of the tech companies that are coming here. I can tell you that a lot of the companies want to get involved. They don't simply want to come here and just create jobs. They understand that there's a reputational issue with tech. And I think they want to identify companies or organizations that they can support. So my job is to be a facilitator and a connector between organizations that are doing the work successfly, and companies that want to help. I think that's part of what a leader does. I was with former ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, on Friday, and she was talking about how, she picked up the phone in multiple occasions and would call companies and say, "Look, you need to help. There's a gap here." I think the Miami Connect program is a wonderful program for children of all races, predominantly minority, to be able to have the kind of educational tools that they may not already have. But I think upskilling programs are one that we need to focus on, because we need to make sure that the jobs that are being created, everyone can participate in. And it's not just children, right? It's not just living in an impoverished home. It's also becoming an adult and maybe wanting a career change and not having the ability to do it, but for a program like WinCode, for example, or others. And so I think that's what I want to focus on. But I continue to have conversations, because in 6 months, I don't think I figured it all out. I can tell you that right now. I don't think that I can tell you that I have it all figured out. And I hope that in 6 months from now, I'll have a much better idea. And 6 months from then, I'll have an even better idea. And hopefully everything continues to go that way. But as much as I talk, because I get paid to talk basically, I like listening and I like hearing, because I think that some of the best tweets that I've written have been someone else's idea. Right? And so for me, this is not about Francis Suarez per se. This is about the community of Miami coming together, and I happen to be someone who can convene and someone who can marshal and someone who can communicate and connect. But the ideas come from so many different sources. We've done, over 100 Cafecito Tech Talks from everyone, from women to minorities to wealthy people to startups to people in different, Series A, Series B, Series C, investors, venture capital. I mean, we've done it all at this point. The other day we had an airport one. I didn't know how that one happened. Somebody came in that was building an airport or had an airport going on in the city.
Last question.
So, as a board member of Endeavor, just want to thank you, because you're a 10-year overnight success. You've been investing in entrepreneurship for a very long time through Endeavor and these other organizations. And I'm getting a call almost every other day from people who want to move here. But another thing that comes up often in those conversations is, who is this guy? And literally last night, someone said, he's extraordinary. If we only had a president that was that way. And do you have any aspirations to be the first Hispanic president? We hope you do. But was curious if anyone in your team or you've given any thought to that.
Well, first of all, Sean, I did plant Sean here for that question. No, I'm just kidding. No, Sean and Melissa Medina were the ones that brought me to Endeavor. And I want to thank you for that, because it was one of the most fulfilling investments that we've made, probably on par with my investment in Camilla's House, which is a homeless shelter. I'm going to give you an answer, and it's going to sound like a political answer, right? So first thing is first is I want to take care of my home court, if you will, and I want to get reelected in November, because all of it goes away if that doesn't happen, right? And what I love to do is serve the people of Miami. I love it. I get up every day with so much energy to do it, that's my singular focus right now. If that happens, I become president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors in January. So I have an opportunity to shape national policy from a mayoral approach, which is also exciting to me. I don't know how well I'll ever be able to navigate the partisan landscape. So this might sound a little hokey pokey what I'm going to say, but I think God has given me opportunities in 2020 that I never thought were going to be available. And so I kind of rely on him to sort of get me there or put me there if that's what he wants me to do. Other than that, every day I try to come to work with the same level of enthusiasm, focus, and energy, and purity of mind and conscience. And then I've realized that a lot of opportunities have come in my path as a result of that. So I do think there's a deep dissatisfaction with the two-party system, and there's a deep dissatisfaction with the polarization of our country. And this, if it's not me, it's not you. If it's not you, it's not me. Or worse, when you get to Twitter, I think some of those were some of the nicer things that people said about me or Miami, right? And you can't go there without seeing the kind of vitriol that is dehumanizing. And I think we have to get, in our politics, we got to find a way to restore civility, even for people who deeply disagree with each other. And we have to understand that we are acting in good faith. We may have differences of opinion. We may have differences of philosophy. That doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make you a bad person if you don't agree with me on an issue. We got to get away from that. And then the second part we gotta do, in my opinion, is we've got to look at political issues as a problem solution. Immigration, it's a problem. We got to solve it. Climate, it's a problem. We got to solve it. Our debt is a problem. We got to solve it. The fact that now, because of our debt and probably irresponsible fiscal management, we have cryptocurrencies that are emerging and that are untethered to central banks. How do we deal with that? That's tomorrow's issue, right? And there's not enough, in my opinion, focus on that. And that's where we need to go. Where that takes me, I have no idea, Sean. I mean, only the big guy upstairs knows, but I'm open to anything. I'm open to anything because that's how I got here. And the more faith and trust that I put in God, the more things I've been able to accomplish. And I look back and say, wow, this is amazing. I never thought I'd be in the White House, in the Oval Office as one of 4 mayors, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, talking about the largest spending plan in the history of humanity and getting to give my perspective on that. I never thought that would have happened, and there's so many experiences that I've had that I would have never thought possible. And the only way that it's possible that I've been able to come up with is that. So I know you agree with that sort of philosophy. Hope everybody else does too.
So before you go, we've mentioned throughout the night the goal of this event was to really join newcomers with locals and bridge the gap. So we make sure there's not 2 ecosystems being built in parallel. So for us, it's really important for all of you to connect and integrate. And Endeavor's mission is to really help catalyze economic growth through entrepreneurship. And many entrepreneurs are here that we support. We have mentors or board members and investors. So, and again, the 305 are our new partner. They're also investing in entrepreneurs and they're also bridging the gap. So it's been a great event and to have you all here. And what would be the last, what would you say to all of them? What would be the call to action for all these people here?
I guess my call to action, since we are in fact trying to integrate the new Miami with what I guess the old Miami, I don't know how you put it, is, first of all, keep socializing outside of your normal social circle. And then I would say the bug that I would put in everyone's head is, as you build these great companies and build this wealth, think about the kids in our community that didn't have or don't have what you have or what you had. Think about them for a minute. And then think about what you can do, even if it's a little thing, and even if it's one child, to make their life a little bit better and to give them a better chance to be successful. And I think that for me is what I want to inspire you to do. And we often have these big, bold ideas because I think a lot of people in here are big, bold people. But sometimes it's just a matter of adopting one child. Finding one child that is, and you don't know who that child's going to be. That child, because of your intervention, could end up being the person that cures cancer. It could end up being the president of the United States. Could end up beating me for president of the United States. No, I'm just kidding. But it could. In seriousness, I mean, you never know. You never know what your intervention could mean for someone. The only thing you know is that if you don't intervene, your philosophy of life, your impact, is not going to be felt by that person. And so you will never have known what that person would have become if it wasn't for your intervention. So that would be my last sort of thought of inspiration.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Suarez, for joining us tonight. This has been great, very insightful. Thank you for being so open and just sharing all your vision about the city of Miami. And it's only starting, and we're excited at Endeavor to keep supporting entrepreneurs. So if you all want to connect with the 305 or Endeavor, please just look for us or our teams or email us or look at LinkedIn. But again, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Let's dare to dream and let's dare to be different.